Hi everyone. Okay, so we got live today. I have a creative sequence four that I chose randomly. So what I did is that I took five poses out of the 200-hour course, and I took those five poses randomly, picked them out of a hat, and um, and I practiced it so I can show you show you what I've done with it. This is a way for me to discover new ways to transition from one place to another. We have certain guidelines about how to sequence poses in a class, but with the right amount of creativity, I believe that we can sequence anything as long as is a safe sequence, and it is really the transitions that we're looking for. Um, the transitions from one pose to another that we're trying to make safer, regardless of which pose is which. So today we have one knee twist, upward facing dog, half moon, standing wide-legged forward fold, and cow face. And I'm going to sequence them first in a hatha class or hatha style setting. And then I am going to sequence them for a vinyasa class. And also I picked these poses randomly and I kept the same order. So I didn't rearrange them. Just, I think that sometimes that could be more challenging. So, but also could give us more in return when we get to learn and research how to sequence these poses together. So once again, one knee twist, upward facing dog, half moon, standing wide-legged forward fold, and cow face. So one knee twist. So let me start with the hatha style class, and I will show you what I came up with and teach you these transitions. So hopefully you can also teach these in your classes. So I'm gonna face away from you because the first pose is a lying down pose or recline pose, and I think it's just easier to show this way. And also, this will be the front of my mat. So if you're ever gonna take this sequence and teach it to other students, the way that I have structured it, everybody will be facing away from the front. And you can always include a theme in there about, facing opposite ends of your mat, because sometimes we always face the same end of the mat. So you can always bring into your class a theme of maybe getting out of your comfort zone, because we're going to start facing away from the class, from the front of the class, which means that you are also going to maybe as a teacher travel from the front of the room to the back of the room. So play with the two different ends of the space. So we're going to begin in a one knee twist with the head facing toward the front of the room. So lying down and then let's begin with the left knee. So left knee into your chest, and then from left knee into the chest, bringing the left knee to the right. And to begin with a one knee twist, I usually like to start with two knee twists, so two knees together. And then that way you can start to warm up the spine and the torso to lie down in these two knee twists. And then after you have been here for a few breaths, you can then teach one knee twist, because one knee twist just takes the leg a little bit deeper. Now, here is the transition that I like to do here. So taking the left hand, so if we have the left knee to the right side, taking the left hand and left arm and then bringing it all the way to the right side. So then it becomes a little bit of a fetal position with the knee in. And then this can also be a nice place where we can do a different stretch that maybe you're not familiar with, which is scooching your right hip back, keeping your right arm straight, and then just lying down here on your right arm. And it's a nice way to stretch the shoulder. You can relax the head. You can just extend your opposite arm out to the side. And then after a few breaths of doing this, again, nice way to stretch the shoulder here, you can put the left hand down and then you can slowly move into a sphinx-like position. So it's a nice way to transition from lying on your back into lying on your belly. And also, please be mindful that it's really nice to be able to start as further into the end of the mat. So let me show you the same transition again. So if you were to just start in the middle of your mat, when you get to come out to lying down on your belly, you might end up outside of your yoga mat. But if you start as close to the left edge as possible, knee comes into the side, and then you can do that nice stretch here for a few breaths. And then when you get to invite the students to come to your belly, you are still on the yoga mat. Usually when I practice this, I just practice it without a yoga mat. So I feel like there is more space. But a lot of students like to stay on their yoga mat. So this is a nice way to keep them on the yoga mat, is by inviting them to first lie down as close to the opposite edge as possible. So from here, we can do some movements with the spine, sphinx. We can do cobra maybe, until you can eventually start to get into upward facing dog. So when I start teaching these sequences in which the poses are not really together, or they usually are not taught together, I usually choose to teach the first couple of rounds with the less intense variation. So here, for instance, instead of upward facing dog, which is the one that I chose for my sequence, then I'm going to teach sphinx pose for the first set, because the idea is that you can take this sequence and then loop the sequence, so you continue to teach it and add things to it, and then also take the intensity and bring the intensity a little bit to a higher level in terms of difficulty for the poses. So sphinx pose. So we have so far one knee twist, upward facing dog, which I am replacing for a sphinx pose to begin with. And then we got to half moon. So there's a long way to go. So from here, hands underneath, tuck toes under, and then press yourself into plank, knees on the floor or knees off the floor. And then slowly round the spine, so taking the shoulder blades away from each other. Right knee in as you step into your lunge. From your lunge, again, you can maybe begin with a side angle pose to begin with, and then maybe a few preparations for half moon. And then eventually, once you have taught this same sequence once or twice, then you can eventually slowly move into your half moon pose. Now, from your half moon pose, we got standing wide-legged forward fold. So then I am going to slowly, we can come up into warrior two transition, extend the leg, and then come into wide-legged forward fold. After you've done this again a couple of times, another thing you can do is from extended side angle, you can slowly start to walk your hands. So then slowly you can start to move into a standing wide-legged forward fold with more fluidity, from a more fluid place. And then from standing wide-legged forward fold, we've done here a few times, maybe once or twice. Inhale halfway up. You can play with this. Hands on your ankles or hands on your hips. big toes slightly in toward each other. Now, here comes a pretty fun transition, which could be difficult for some of your students, but we can always play with it and see how it goes. So, and you can go either way. So you can go toward the right leg or toward the left leg, but let's go toward the camera. So from here, moving into a pyramid pose. And then it is nice to start to tell the students to bring the feet a little bit closer together. So maybe starting to walking the hands further out, so then you can start to pivot the feet. This is easier to do when the feet are closer toward each other. So that's why from wide-legged forward fold to when you transition into pyramid pose, telling the students to step the back leg a little bit closer into the front. That way you can do pyramid pose a little bit easier, but also it's going to help you for the transition to come here. So then continue to walk the hands outside of the right leg as you pivot the feet, both heel and feet. So this becomes like a revolved standing wide-legged forward fold. And the fun part here comes when you start to bend both knees. And then let me just double check that we're going there. First. Yeah. So start to bend both knees. And then you are in cow face. And this time you end up facing the side of the room. So neither the front, neither the back, but the side of the room. Again, just getting the students out of their comfort zone. So here, chest forward, or maybe you want to add the variation with the arms, your choice. And then slowly taking, so if I have the right leg over, you can take the right leg to the back. So then it becomes like a pigeon or a 90-90 pose. You can play with pigeon, 90-90, then eventually you can start moving into pigeon pose if you like. But then what I have done here, and then eventually you can start to move to the floor, stepping into your plank, lower into your sphinx, and then maybe eventually starting to move your way into starting the other leg. So bringing the right knee in, left leg out. But what I've done is instead of starting from the beginning again, so we have one knee twist to start with, what I want to propose is to reverse the whole thing. So if we ended up in cow face, so right leg was over, cow face pose, then coming from cow face pose, we can start to shift the weight forward, and then coming back to this place, walking back to pyramid, back to wide-legged forward fold. So we can do that. But we could also place the feet. So if I have my right leg over, placing both hands toward the front of the mat, as you begin to walk yourselves all the way to the other side, and you end up in cow face on the other side. So then cow face becomes the first pose because you're going to reverse the whole thing. So left leg is over, upper body is forward. Once you've done this for a few breaths, you can go back into your wide-legged forward fold here, and maybe getting into your left leg extended side angle, left leg half moon, hands come back down to the floor, stepping into your plank, And then slowly, you're gonna lower yourself to your Sphinx or to your upward facing dog. Now, I'm just gonna face you this way, but if I am here, I think I briefly explained before. So from upward facing dog, shoulders back, or let's say that you're still working on the first variations of that pose, which is Sphinx pose, for instance. Then from here, we can slowly start to scooch ourselves to the edge of the mat. Slide the left knee out. And then one nice thing about a Sphinx pose is that we can use our core, shoulders and away from the ears. We can slide one arm under the shoulder, so we go back to this nice stretch that we did before. And then eventually you come back into your two-knee twist. And then we can scooch to the other side. Right knee to chest. One knee twist or two knee twist to begin with, if this is the first time that you're doing this on this side. Then eventually, after a few breaths, you can lie down here, maybe a nice stretch for the shoulder. And then eventually coming up into your Sphinx pose or Cobra or upward facing dog. Maybe you want to slide a bit of a Vinyasa here, but we can talk about it later when it comes to our Vinyasa part of the class. And then from your upward facing dog / Vinyasa, if you chose to do that, then you can step with the left leg forward, reverse, half moon. From half moon, making our way to a stunning wide-legged forward fold. Cow face on the right with the right leg over. And then cow face on the other side if you want to reverse the whole thing. I hope it makes sense when I say reverse the whole thing. So starting from cow face, and then from cow face, we can do our right half moon. And then from that, if I'm facing the back of the room, plank, upward facing dog, and then eventually lying down, moving to the edge of the mat as I find myself into a one knee twist. So sometimes when it comes to these sequences, especially when you have a mat, you might need to scoot yourself a little bit, and sometimes that can be awkward. So if I am finishing in my upward facing dog, and then I'm down in the middle of my mat, but I know that I want to scooch to the left side because I am going this way. So we can bring this into our sequence as well. We can make it more inclusive. So we can say after upward facing dog, coming down into the belly, shoulders back, floating the hands, finding the strength in your back, and then take both hands and slide both hands toward the left edge, place the hands down, bring the chest down, belly stays engaged the whole time, tuck toes under, lift pelvis, scooch pelvis. So you can make this transition, you can break it apart and make this transition part of your practice. And then slowly from here, let's see which way we're going. Left arm is forward, right hand is underneath, maybe a nice stretch here for the shoulder first. Left knee comes out to the side, staying here for a few breaths. And then slowly opening the left arm, right hand to left knee into your one knee twist. Coming back into lying on your back. Maybe here, you can always slide a bridge pose. You can do knees to chest or happy baby. Plant the feet on your mat. Scooch your pelvis to the right edge of your mat. Scooch your shoulders to the right side. Extend the left leg, right knee to chest, right knee to the opposite side. Stay here for a few breaths. Coming down into your nice shoulder stretch. And then slowly slide your right leg to the back space, press your right hand, find your Sphinx, or find your Cobra, or find your upward facing dog. Find plank, step in your... So let's say if when I was here, I had my right knee to chest, you can also, or right knee to the left side, you can also continue with the same idea. So when you get to your upward facing dog, and then back to your plank, you can step your right leg forward. So your right leg continues the same theme from when you were lying down. Then here, finding your half moon. From your half moon into your standing wide-legged forward fold. And because we continue with the same thing of the right leg, pivoting all the way from standing wide-legged forward fold into our revolved variation. Lower, again, you'll finally end up with your right leg over. And then slowly come back. Let's begin with calf face on the other side again. So now you have established your left leg. So this is the first time you do the sequence in reverse variation with the left leg. And then from the left leg, you go back into your standing wide-legged forward fold, left leg half moon. And then slowly back to upward facing dog, coming back down. And then if I want to move into my left leg, one knee twist, what I have to do is move to the left edge of the mat, slide the left leg in, right arm, left arm opens, and then I end up with the left knee to the right side. So it's always gonna be right leg over left, right leg forward, right edge of the mat. So in order to sort of finish with the right leg always and then moving into the left leg. But you can play with this however you like. Once you get more comfortable teaching these kind of sequences, I'm just gonna check my time for a second. Checking this, practicing this time of sequences, then you can do something like, let's do the vinyasa part because we only have 5 minutes left. So if I'm doing the vinyasa part, and I'm also gonna mix the sides, lying down on your back, lie down on the right edge of your mat, right knee to chest, take a deep inhale, exhale, knee to chest. Inhale, exhale, bring the right leg to the left side. Inhale and exhale, continue to roll over as you stretch the shoulder here. Stay here maybe for a couple of breaths if you like. You can always make it faster as you continue to move further into your practice. Inhale to press the hands, lift the chest, Sphinx pose, and slide your front leg to the back space. Shoulders down, inhale to look forward. Exhale to lower your chest. Pressing the hands down. Inhale. Let's say that you are moving further now into the middle of your class and you've done a Sphinx pose a few times. Now you're ready to do Cobra or upward facing dog. So this is inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward dog, just for fun. Inhale, Cobra. Excuse me, by Cobra I mean plank. Inhale, plank. Exhale, Chaturanga. Inhale, Cobra or upward facing dog. Second time, but this is added into a vinyasa. Exhale, back to downward facing dog. Look to your hands, step your right foot forward, turn the back foot out to the side. Maybe you already did Warrior 2, you did extended side angle, and now you're ready for half moon. So placing your right hand on the floor, left hand to the hip, float here, breathe. And then on the next exhalation, bend your standing knee, return the left leg into your Warrior 2. Wiggle the hands all the way down as you walk your hands into your standing wide-legged forward fold. Inhale halfway. Exhale back down, hands on floor, ankles or hips. Placing the hands on the floor. Let's pivot to the left as you begin to step the back foot a little bit further. Bend your knees to lower yourselves into cow face with the left leg over. So here is where I shift. I was going on the right leg for most of the sequence, and then at the end I chose to, instead of going to the right leg and come down to cow face with the right leg over, I ended up with the left leg over. But again, those things you can get more comfortable once you practice this a little longer. Inhale, extend the spine, exhale, forward fold. Coming back up. And then slowly return toward the left side. And let's actually go back into the left leg. So here we're going to do half moon on the left leg. Stepping the front leg back into plank, maybe chaturanga. Inhale, cobra or upward facing dog. And then you can do your vinyasa there. And then slowly shifting to the left side. To the left side, taking your left knee out to the side as you finish with your left, I don't have a space here, but finish with your left knee in. And then you can reverse left knee, back into your standing wide-legged forward fold. And then you can continue the circle, so then you finish with the right leg over. Yeah, so here's one example of how you can switch. In the middle of your sequence, you can choose to go from working on the right leg into the left leg and vice versa. Let me see what time it is. So that was a really quick tutorial on how to connect these poses that usually don't go well together, but then find the transitions needed. I would say that with my experience teaching this transition from wide-legged forward fold to here, to cow face, a lot of people get stuck there. So I would make it almost like a peak transition that I'm gonna work on through the class, depending on the level of your classes. But as I said before, you can go from there into pyramid pose in order to break down that transition. The back foot a little bit further in is gonna help them also to come here, and they can bend the knees as much as they want to. Some people have difficulties keeping both legs straight here. So they can, once they go from here to here, front knee can also be bent. They can start to bend the knees. It's almost like they're ready to sit down. And also remind them to keep the ankles flexed a lot. So once you come down, you can always have also a cushion behind you just to prepare. Once you come down, then you can play with whichever variation you want of cow face pose. But I noticed that if it's a beginner's vinyasa class, this sequence might be a little bit too much because you might have to break it down a lot. If you know the students, then you can play with this sequence a little bit more and go a little bit faster. So this sequence works really well in Hatha for beginners. And then eventually toward the end of the class, you can move a little bit, maybe you can add a little bit of movement with breath. So if you have any questions, please let me know. And you can write the questions down on the comments. I will answer them. And thank you so much for watching, and everyone have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.